Hey guys, welcome back to True Crime Time ASMR. I'm Nicole. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in to this video and to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. I truly appreciate you. And to everyone who is new, please consider subscribing if you enjoy whispered true crime videos. Alright, let's get right to the case. Today we are going to be talking about Brooke Skylar Richardson. She goes by the name of Skylar, which is her middle name, so that is how I am going to refer to her as well. She comes from a town called Carlisle, Ohio, which is a very small town of about 5,000 people, and I believe it is not far from Cincinnati. She was born in 1999. I couldn't find out the exact day. I just did the math myself based on other information. She has two parents who are married and together, named Kim and Scott, and she has a brother named Jackson. So, as you can see from the picture of her that I am showing, she was probably a girl that was envied by many. I'm just guessing, but I'm saying based on how pretty she was. She was a cheerleader. She had excellent grades, and she was on the student council in high school. But let's go back a little bit. When she was 12, she was the victim of a sexual assault. We don't really know by who. That same year, age 12, she came down with a serious eating disorder. It was a combination of anorexia and bulimia. No one seems to be drawing any connection between the sexual assault and the eating disorder. I didn't hear anything about that, but there certainly could be a connection depending on which one actually started first. And she was ultimately diagnosed with body dysmorphic disorder, which simply means that you see your own body in an unrealistic way. In other words, for example, you see yourself as overweight when everyone else sees you as underweight. That would be an example. So she was dealing with that. And it was said that she had developed a dependent personality disorder as well due to the sexual assault. Okay, now, something else to keep in mind is that as a cheerleader, she was made a flyer, which is one of the girls who goes on top of the pyramid, and the flyer needs to be She seemed like she was getting healthier. She had gained some weight and seemed happy. And perhaps her eating disorder had eased a little bit. So the mother said to Skylar, I think we better go to a doctor and get you birth control because, let's be real, right? So she made an appointment and she took Skylar to the doctor on April 26th, 2017. Now at this point, Skylar has turned 18. So the mother waits in the waiting room and Skylar goes in. She tells the doctor, I'm here to get birth control pills. So he's like, okay, he does the exam, whatever. And he comes back to tell her, you're actually pregnant, so I can give you birth control pills. You are probably due in about 8 weeks. But he's just, using whatever, clues he gets from the exam. He doesn't know. She's not able to really give a great history. So, that's what he says. Now, mind you, this baby is not from Brandon. It would be from the other boy from the summer, Trey, who she was no longer talking to. And she said to the doctor something like, I can't have a baby, and she was crying. Now, I don't find this to be particularly shocking, although when I heard the story elsewhere, everyone seems to be surprised that she should say such a thing, and she was crying. And she said, oh, my mother cannot know. You cannot tell my mother. Seems very common, if you ask me. I mean, not great, not a good thing, but not surprising, and she is 18, so he cannot tell her mother. And she says to him, listen, my mother expects me to come out of here with a birth control prescription, so can you please give it to me? I will not take it until after, the pregnancy. So, reluctantly, the doctor does give her the prescription, and he tells her, you must come back here in a week or so, and we have to get started on some prenatal care pronto. Now keep in mind, at this stage of the pregnancy, pregnancies generally last 40 weeks, okay? This stage in the pregnancy, it is way, way, way too late for any kind of abortion. Now, I'm not trying to get into any debate on that whatsoever. I'm just mentioning it so that everyone is aware. That was not an option. So she leaves there with her prescription. She comes out crying, as reported later by the mother. But she tells the mother it wasn't anything in particular, it was just she was very nervous because it was her first time going to a gynecologist. So that was that. So, not long after that, in the beginning of May, she attended her high school prom with her boyfriend, Brandon. She was able to wear the prom dress that she had picked out in February, and really nobody could see anything about her. She did not really look very pregnant at all. And just a few days later, on May 7th, she was having a lot of cramping went about her life. And she went back to the doctor in July to get a refill on the birth control pills. And the doctor said, "You were pregnant the last time you were here in April. You never came back for prenatal care. I never heard from you. What happened to the baby?" So, Skylar told the doctor the same story I just told you. That she gave birth, it wasn't alive, and she buried it in the backyard. And she left. Shortly thereafter, the police came to Skylar's house, and they wanted to question her. They brought her and her parents down to the police station, and since she was an adult, they questioned her alone. Apparently, she didn't insist on a lawyer at that time, and she proceeded to admit the story. They said the doctor had, contacted them. Now, I'm wondering if that's legal, but I guess it must be. If you're, a lawyer or you know those sort of things, does a doctor have to tell the police about this sort of thing? I mean, it's something that happened in the past. I know if you go in and you say, "I'm going to kill somebody," or "I'm going to kill myself," they have a duty to report it, but do they have a duty to report this, where the girl is saying what she had done and it was already done and nobody was in danger? I don't know. Okay, I'm just curious. So let me know if you have any idea. So anyway, yeah, the doctor had reported her to the police, and she admitted the whole thing. Just like that. And her parents were then made aware, and it seemed that they didn't know. They were pretty upset, obviously. So then the police went to her house, and they found the body. They dug it up. They sent it to a pathologist, and in a short while, the pathologist came back to say that the body looked like it had been burned. So they went back to Skylar and arrested her. And they sat her down in the police station evidence of a homicide or no homicide. It was just no, didn't show anything, like completely inconclusive. So, but it didn't matter. They already had her confession to burning the baby and her confession that it had gurgled a little and it must have been alive. Now, they offered her a plea deal of removing the most damaging charge of, what's it called? Of aggravated murder, the one with the life sentence. And then they offered her just 15 years in prison. But she didn't take it. And we don't know why. Did her lawyer tell her not to? Or she refused, for her own reasons. But she turned it down. A lot of people were saying that was a pretty good deal and she should have taken it, because a 15-year sentence, she probably would have been out a lot sooner than 15 years. But she didn't take it, so they went to trial on September 3rd, 2019. So, the prosecution obviously comes out with the usual things, the confessions. They mentioned things like, well, she didn't want the baby, so that's a motive. She Googled how to get rid of a baby. There's a motive. She had taken the birth control pills, so she was already trying to kill the baby. They suggested that her mother putting so much pressure on Skylar to be perfect made her take the life of the baby so as not to have an imperfect life. They also said that the mother actually knew about the pregnancy because the doctor's office had actually accidentally sent the pregnancy results to the mother. That's a big accident. So, when she got those results, she texted Skylar, and they have that text, and said something like, "What is this?" And Skylar said, it's a mistake, don't worry. And her mother said, well, it better be a mistake or else your life is over. So whether or not the mother believed that it was a mistake, I don't know. But they are saying that she knew. I don't know what that means for the case, though, really. They found another very damning text just hours after giving birth, the next morning. Skylar went to the gym and she took a picture of her midsection. She sent the photo to her mother, and here is what she said on it. Quote, "I'm literally so excited now just for dinner to wear something cute. My belly is back and I'm taking this opportunity to make it amazing." So, that shows her to just be very callous, She had given birth. Supposedly the baby was dead and she was just happy as can be that her body is back. So, I don't know if that shows that she killed the baby or just shows that she kind of has bad character, because the baby still could have been stillborn. That doesn't show anything. It's just either way, it's not the way that a normal person would be acting after an event like that. Now, the defense was saying that the confessions were coerced, which could be. They are saying that the pathology report shows nothing, which is true, it doesn't. while she was pregnant could have threatened the health of the fetus as well. And they said that according to Skylar, the baby was born very pale and wasn't breathing and didn't have a heartbeat. Not that that is in any way factual, it's just what she said, but they were still using it. On September 12th, 2019, the verdict was reached, and she was found not guilty on anything except for abuse of a corpse. And they gave her 3 years probation. By November of 2020, they ended her probation after 14 months, and the judge said she was not in danger. She did not require supervision from the probation department, and they didn't feel that she was likely to go out and commit any other crimes at this point. So that was that. Now, she was supposed to go to college at the University of Cincinnati at the end, after she finished her senior year, but that did not happen. And after all this was done, they wouldn't take her. But she went to a local college, and she started working part-time for the law firm who represented her. And she said she would like to become an attorney herself. And that information is from November of 2020. I don't know if anything has changed since then. I didn't find anything more recent. So, what do we think of the case? Well, it's very hard to know, because there is no actual evidence showing that the baby was born dead or alive. And in my opinion, I don't think Skylar even had enough knowledge to know if the baby was born dead or alive. I mean, no one was bringing that up that I heard, but I was thinking, how would she know? She said the baby was pale. That's not odd. She didn't say it was cold. She didn't say it was blue. She said it wasn't breathing. How would she know? And sometimes, well, a lot of times the doctor or the nurse will hit the baby on the back to get them breathing. I didn't hear that she did that. Or would she know how to do that? And a lot of times they suction out, the nose and mouth at the hospital to help them get going. I don't think she knew about that. So my feeling is, how would she know if the baby was alive or not? So there is that. So once again, we're not gonna know what really happened. Do I think the verdict was fair? I do, because they didn't have enough information to convict her. They really didn't. So, what do you all think though? Do you think that the baby was born alive or dead? Or do you have no idea, like I do? How much do you think the mother is to blame for what happened here? And how much do you think that Skylar, being 18, had full personal responsibility for her own choices? I mean, she wasn't like 7 years old, she was 18, and lots of people have toxic mothers, right? And lots of people, unfortunately, have mental illnesses, personality